Hey there guys, so I want to welcome you again, as always, to today's live stream. There's a few things that I want to address before I get started with today. As I usually do, I try to sort of make some announcements before I get started. First thing is I do have my 14-day free trial. It is coming up May the 9th. You can still sign up. You can sign up early today, and you'll be able to have access to your workouts starting May the 9th. There's no payment method, of course, required. All you need is your name and your email, and you can go ahead and get started starting on May the 9th, of course. And you'll have access to a workout plan that my clients use, same program that my clients use free for 14 days. So if you have questions on that, just feel free to reach out to me and let me know. Another thing, tomorrow I'm doing an expansion basically of this live stream, and I'm going to be doing a live stream on YouTube tomorrow. So I'm going to be trying another platform, seeing how that goes, and sort of expanding on what I talk about here on Wednesday on a Thursday live stream on YouTube. So that'll be at the same time tomorrow at 12. So you can watch that live stream tomorrow. Um, if you want the link to my YouTube channel to be able to subscribe and to be notified for that video, feel free to let me know. But again, that'll be on YouTube. And what I'm going to talk about is going to be a little bit, like I said, an expansion of what I'm talking about today on hydration. It's going to be talking about a lot of the sort of performance benefits of hydration. So that's sort of the main topic that I'm going to talk about there. And it won't be as long as my Wednesday live streams. So it's going to be a little bit shorter, but I'm going to sort of expand on what I talk about here and give you guys a little bit more information to share. So that's all I want to discuss. Again, be sure to let me know if you guys want to join the 14-day trial. There's no risk to that, so I really encourage you to join in on that. And again, check out my YouTube, subscribe to that, and watch out for those live streams that I do there. I'm continuing to make changes in my YouTube channel as well. There's a lot of things that I'm making changes to and updating and to allow it to be more engaging for you guys, so definitely check out all of these things. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into my topic today, which is hydration. And I think I've brought this up maybe a couple months back. I may have brought it up not too long ago, but the reason why I want to bring it up again is because that it's sort of relevant to me at the moment, and it's really essential, especially if you have a workout routine or exercise routine, to stay hydrated. It's an essential part of our health as it relates to, our water intake. So, and I sort of want to expand a little bit on that and discuss it a little bit more because I can relate to it recently because of a lot of the changes that I've made in my life. So I hope that you guys found this valuable. So here are some of the 6 things that I'm going to be discussing in this live stream, and that's going to be about why water is important, water's influence of performance, how to know if you're hydrated, recommended fluid intake, how to track water intake, and then modifying your fluid intake. So this is basically sort of a blueprint or a roadmap of what I'm going to be discussing today. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know on anything that I talk about today. So let's go ahead and get started. So why is water so important? So our bodies are comprised of at least 60% water. Water helps with regulating our body temperature. It is protection of body organs and tissues, and it helps with carrying nutrients and oxygen in the cells as well as lubricating the joints. So another thing that water also does is it removes basically a lot of the waste and toxins that are in our body. It helps with that. It's an essential part to our daily lives. It does a lot of regulation. It's protecting many parts of our bodies, and it's helped to do daily functions in our body. So it's very important that water plays a role in our daily lives, and it's important to focus more on our water intake. So, and I know I mentioned before I was going to talk about sort of performance benefits of water. So this is somewhat different than what I'm talking about tomorrow. So Water on influence of performance. So this is basically talking about how it can lack. So basically how water can basically negatively affect your influence, or not negatively affect your influence, but negatively affect your performance. So if you're lacking hydration, it can lead to multiple adverse effects that can include an increased heart rate, higher body temperature, lower blood volume, decreased blood flow, increased cardiac output, lower rate of perspiration and temperature regulation, which is sweating, decreased blood flow, which I just mentioned. It can also increase use of muscle glycogen, higher rate of perceived exertion, meaning that some of the exercises you do are going to be harder if you lack water, basically. So there's a lot of negative things that can basically impact you if you're lacking in water intake. And what I'm going to discuss is I know I've sort of talked a little bit about, water intake, and why these things have negative effects, why they have certain positive effects, what water does. So what I want to talk about now is more of how to know if you're hydrated, how to know if you're having the proper water intake into your body, and things of that nature, so you guys know how you can sort of manage these things. Because I can attest to a lot of these things when we're talking about sort of keeping track of water, um, and sort of keeping track of your fluid intake in general. I've actually taken a lot of these sort of measures in my life as well as putting more focus on water intake. So what I'm going to talk about now is how to know if you're hydrated. So there's many ways, and these are methods that I use to know. So basically, to know if you're hydrated, one of the easiest ways to find out if you're hydrated is by examining your urine. So depending on the shade of yellow on your urine can determine your hydration. So basically, the deeper yellow your urine is, the less hydrated you are. I mean, yes, the less hydrated you are. And then the lighter color your urine, the more hydrated you are. So the more basically, the way that I like to put it is the more that your urine looks like water, the more hydrated you basically are. So the deeper the yellow, of course, is less hydrated you are. The lighter and clearer your urine is the more hydrated you are. That is one of the easiest ways that you can know that you're hydrated. Every time you go to the bathroom, you can instantly know whether you're hydrated or not. So that's something to keep in mind. So we talked about sort of whether you're hydrated. So what is the recommended sort of fluid intake that you should be focusing on? So the recommended fluid intake can vary from what I'm discussing here. This is basically a baseline of what I'm discussing, but it can vary beyond, different metrics, whether you're like working out or whether you're in a hard or a hotter temperature. There's a lot of influences on the recommended fluid intake. But this is basically a baseline on how much water you should be intaking. And this can vary between men and women. So fluid intake can vary between both men and women. Men should intake 15.5 cups, whereas women should intake 11.5 cups. So translating this into basically other forms of measurement. So for men, they should be drinking 124 ounces or 3.7 liters of water. For women, they should be drinking 92 ounces and 2.7 liters of water. So it's a little bit less for women and more for men. Uh, Another thing to keep in mind is you don't have to primarily focus on your water intake through just drinking water. If you have a lot of fruits and vegetables in your diet, that can be included in your fluid intake. Anything that's any sort of food item that is more water based or more that has more of a like a fruit or vegetable that has more of that water like consistency, I guess, for the lack of a better term, would be integrated as well as water into your daily fluid intake. It's going to be the same. So if you're tracking your fluid intake, you can take into consideration fruits and vegetables a part of that fluid intake because a lot of them do include water. Like, for example, I could think of cucumbers. That would be a great example. Anything that's really, a lot of fruits and vegetables have that sort of watery consistency. And that's sort of something to keep in mind that you can include that in your fluid intake if you're tracking fluid intake. So, how to track fluid intake. So, this is a thing that I've been doing recently, and I've sort of been researching myself. But basically, there's multiple methods that you can track your fluid intake. And I'm going to sort of give you an example of what I actually use as well, talking about this tracking methods. So fluid intake can be done by keeping track of it using a journal. So what you could do is you can write it down, basically track the specific time of the intake and the time as well when you drink the water, as well as the amount of cups and or liters that you intake at that particular time. So basically, what you want to do, I mean, this is pretty simple. Anytime that you're drinking water, and usually the way that you can tell, or the best way that you can tell of how much water you're intaking, is if you get you like a sort of a water bottle that has the sort of the measurements on sort of the measurement of each section. Like I have a blender bottle, and it's sort of got your measurements on the side. Another thing you can use is like if you drink, say for example, if you're not using just a regular, take with you to go sort of water bottle, you can get like if you're drinking just a regular water bottle, plastic water bottle, it usually shows on the side how many fluid ounces is in that, and you can use that as a part of your tracking method. So if you drink that full, you know, basically it's like the water bottles that I use, it says it's like 16.9 fluid ounces. So I basically kind of rounded up to 17 ounces just to give it an even number. So if you drink that full amount of water in that water bottle, you're having 17 ounces of water, and you can add that to your fluid intake. So you can use that, just like tracking with a journal, writing it down, putting the time, putting what cups and liters as well. Another thing you can do, and this is actually what I do, is you can track with various phone apps that allow you to set notifications to remind you of your fluid intake as well as tracking your daily habits. So I actually use an app, and this is not a sponsored thing or anything of that nature, but I use an app called Water Llama. It's really simple. There's nothing really detailed about it. Basically, it's just an app where you just basically go on there each day. Like when you log in, it'll automatically show today, and then you put in, it gives you different amounts of water that you've intaked, and you just basically add it to that day. And it sort of makes it a little bit more engaging because it's got different animals sort of on the app, and you can sort of see how close you are to your goal. Like my goal is around, I want to say 90 something ounces of water, and the reason why mine is a little bit high is of course because of different factors, because of your weight, and if you're in a warmer temperature, that's a lot of the reasons why mine is a little bit higher. Now, again, you can go in there because in the app it sort of gives you different metrics like that. So if you're male or female, as well as if it's a warm temperature and warmer climate that you live in, what's your body weight, things like that, it'll take into consideration, and it gives you sort of an example of your recommended fluid intake. So it's really cool. It's a really cool app to try, but it's basically called Water Llama. And it's one of the most popular sort of water tracking apps on the App Store. But it's definitely worth a try. I use it every day now. It's sort of helped me keep track of my fluid intake as well. So definitely check that out. If you want to sort of a link to that, just feel free to let me know and you can download the app. But that's something to keep in mind. There's a lot of different methods you can use to sort of keep track of your fluid intake. So modifying your fluid intake. So this is a little bit of an expansion of, tracking it, but there's different things, like I mentioned, that sort of influence your fluid intake and influence your recommended fluid intake. So you want to modify your fluid intake in various circumstances. So you want to put it in consideration when you're exercising. When you're exercising, you're going to need more fluid intake. If you're in a hotter, humid weather, that can that can affect your fluid intake and contributes to dehydration. So if you're in a hotter, humid temperature or weather where you live, or if you're going on vacation, take into consideration you need more water than maybe what your recommended amount is, because you're losing water because of sweat, any kind of perspiration. That's sort of contributing to that dehydration. So you're going to need more water than you would usually need. Your body can also lose fluids when you are sick, and it is also recommended to drink more water during these times. You've always kind of heard that you know maybe your friends or family members always tell you to drink more water when you're sick, and that's basically true. Your body does get dehydrated when you're sick, so that's something to keep in mind, is that you do need more water if you're sick. Another thing is women who are pregnant may need to also adjust and increase their fluid intake. That's another thing to keep in mind, that because of the pregnancy, that's going to influence sort of that fluid intake as well. So you're going to need more fluid than you would normally need outside of a pregnancy. So that's sort of basically what this is talking about, sort of modifying your fluid intake when it relates to different sort of situations that are happening. Be aware of the temperature. Be aware, another thing, be aware of your body weight as well. Again, that changes with recommended fluid intake. Your body is going to lose fluids when you're sick, so drink more water when you're sick. And if you're a woman who is pregnant, you're going to need to increase your water intake as well. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Again, if you have questions about anything that I discussed today, or any questions about a previous live stream that I discussed, feel free to reach out. Again, tomorrow I'm doing a YouTube live stream expanding a little bit more on talking about some of the performance benefits of water and sort of how there are various performance sort of negatives to being dehydration as well. So definitely watch out for that live stream. I'll be doing that tomorrow on YouTube. Another reason why I'm sort of doing separately on YouTube is to sort of try another platform to sort of see how engagement works. Sort of testing out different platforms kind of at the moment, because I am doing an Instagram live stream, and then I'm going to be starting to do this YouTube live stream. So definitely check out these videos. I try to make these separate from each other to sort of give you guys a little bit more variety of content rather than it being so samey. So definitely watch out for that video tomorrow. It'll be at the same time at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. It will be live on YouTube instead of here in the Facebook group. Again, if you don't watch the Instagram live streams, a lot of good information on those too as well, because I go over different exercises. So that is a separate sort of topic that I discuss there, much like I discuss here. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. You can call me or text me as well, my phone number, or you can send me a direct message with any sort of thing that you want to discuss as it relates to the live stream. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow and in the next Wednesday live stream. Thank you guys.